Welcome to Magic Mondays. I'm Tana Grover with the Tribe of Giants Networks. Be sure to like and subscribe to Wake Up with Giants YouTube, a Tribe of Giants YouTube, a Tribe of Giants TV, a Tribe of Giants on Facebook. I'm here with a special guest. His name's Keaton the Muscle Hoskins. He's one of the Diesel brothers on the Discovery Channel. He's the owner of One Mission Nutrition. You can find that website at www.1missionnutrition.com. He's also the owner, partner of FitCon Expo, and he's also the author of one of the most amazing books that I've read. It absolutely is such an incredible book. So great job on that. He's the author of the Divorce Handbook, which we're going to dive into today. If you haven't got this book, go out and get it. It's amazing. Keaton, I just want to thank you. I know you're a busy guy. You've got a ton going on. So I just appreciate you being here today. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule. And I just want to take it away. You just tell me a little bit about your story, a little bit about what you're doing, who you are, what you've got coming in the works, all the things.
All the stuff. Well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here. I have quite a few rods in the fire all the time. I own, quite a few companies and do quite a few things. And I also, on top of all that, I filmed the TV show called Diesel Brothers on the Discovery Channel, which hopefully in the next few weeks we'll be wrapping up our next season, and it should be airing, I believe, in April. So that'll be on Monday nights on Discovery Channel. But yeah, outside of that, I do a lot of stuff, and I don't know if it's just mentally because that's how I do things, but I just can't really stop. So if I'm not moving forward, I'm probably suffering in some way. So this year, I'm hoping that we start. Can you hear me?
Now I can. Uh-oh. You're back.
Uh-oh. Can you hear me, Tana?
Yep, I can hear you. A little technical difficulties. We're fine. Starting to break in and out a little bit. So while he gets his camera situated, I'm just going to talk. So he wrote this book.
You there?
Yep. Can you hear me okay?
You're there. I can't hear you or see you.
I can see you. You gotta love the technical difficulties. We're just gonna go with it. Hopefully you can get that figured out. But his book, he's got so many great things that he's working on. This book is so amazing. I'm excited to share a bunch of topics. I've got a bunch of questions for him as well. Can you hear me okay?
You there?
Yep. Can you hear me? Oh, dang. Okay, so hopefully he can log back on and try to get that figured out. But so I'm just going to read a few things. I really wanted to highlight with him on these, but this book right here, it's not only for if you're going through a divorce. Like, he hit on so many topics and so many things that are absolutely incredible. So not only will it affect you if you're going through a divorce, it affects anything, like whether you're starting a new business or you've got any sort of failure in your life. There's so many tips that you can apply to that. I'm going to try to log out real quick and see if I can log back in. Sorry for the I think he's back.
That worked. I don't know what happened.
Yep. Yeah, that's okay. You got to love the internet difficulties, right? You just go with it. Go with the flow.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyways, you're telling us about all the things.
Yeah, so essentially between filming and starting companies, writing that book that was really therapeutic for myself. If I'm not doing those things, I'm with my family. I have 4 daughters, and they keep me busy.
Beautiful, man. Your girls, all 4 of them are gorgeous.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to dive right into this. I highlighted, it was so hard because literally I highlighted the entire book. So to have to
Yeah.
go through and like pick out the very like most powerful topics, it was hard to do because there were so many nuggets in there. Every single page had something that I was like, wow, like this is amazing. And a lot of it, like you said in the book, it's hard to read. Like it's not
Yeah.
easy to do when you dive in and do the work. You did an
Yeah.
incredible job on this book. What prompted
Well,
you to
essentially
write this?
that was kind of when I wrote the book, I wanted it to be a challenge for the reader. Most people will never change, and to change takes a lot. Most of the time, change is correlated with being able to look at yourself. And most people have a really hard time looking in a mirror and seeing the reality. They see what they want to see, and that's how they live most of their lives. And when I wrote the book, I learned at that point in my life to be able to look at myself in all reality with all my flaws and all my imperfections and all my stupidity and be able to dissect it and say, okay, here's my problems. These are whether I like them or not, or whether I want to accept them or not. It doesn't matter. They're real and they're there. But if I can look at myself truthfully, I can probably change myself. And so when I wrote the book, I wanted the reader to be able to learn how to open up and see themselves, their real selves, and then dissect what needed to be fixed. I'm sure my ex-wife probably thought there was a lot of crazy blame that was going to be placed in the book. But the reality is that the book was about myself and all of the shortcomings that I had been and done. And even though it's a divorce book, it's more of a self-help book for anyone in any situation, in any type of relationship, whether it's a son and a father, or a business relationship, or a friendship, or soulmate, or whatever. In any relationship, if you want that relationship to be really good, you have to look at yourself and look at your own faults and your own imperfections, and then you have to go to work, which is the hardest part for most people, is that it really is a battle or a war with yourself, accepting the fact that you have problems and you have issues, and nothing will get better unless you change.
Yes, I love that. It was so powerful. That was one of the hardest things to read, is because reading it, I mean, typically you do blame the other person. And yeah, my divorce
Yeah.
was many, many years ago. I got divorced in 2006, and I applied it to that as well. But I more recently applied it to my relationship with my daughter's dad. Like that
Yeah.
was the more recent breakup. So it wasn't a divorce, but whether it's your business, just like you said, whether it's a business adventure or a failure you've come through, a divorce, a relationship, a friendship, it doesn't have to be divorce. This book can be applied to so many aspects of your life. It really made me dig in and take the blame and the fault that I've pushed upon my exes or whoever it is, and really dive in and accept that it was me. That
Yeah.
It's so powerful. It is so
And
powerful.
it's really, really powerful when you get to a place in your life that no one can bring something to your attention that you didn't already know and that you're not already working on. When you're younger, you become defensive when people say, hey, you're rude, you're mean, you're a liar, you're a cheater, you're all of these things, and you become defensive because in your mind, somehow, to survive, you've created this excuse that you're not those things. But it's very powerful when you accept who you are, all of your flaws, all the things that you do, and then you go to work to change them. So when people, whether it's out of hate or spite or whatever, when they come to you and try to tear you down, it's impossible because you already understand the weaknesses and the flaws that you have in yourself, and you're already working on them. And there isn't anyone in this world that could be torn down on something they're already working on to get better at. It's so liberating when you understand every single problem in your life is your fault and it's your choice. How you react to situations, how you treat other people, how you become offended. Everything is your choice. And when you can let go of excuses that it's somebody else's fault, you can really gain power in your life and in every relationship that you have. And then you can really set boundaries. And a lot of people don't set boundaries very well because they don't really even know what boundaries are. And they don't know how to have boundaries with themselves or with anybody else. And so once you start down that path of self-healing and self-growth, everything changes. And then, obviously you can create wonderful, wonderful things. I have a great marriage now. And my wife now, she's young, she's 29. Even with all of the inexperience that she doesn't have, we're able to have a really beautiful relationship, because I'm really good or getting better at seeing all of my faults, because there's so many, and she's really good at listening and saying, hey, how can I help? What can we do? Because she realizes that, I'm most of the problem most of the time, and I'm willing to accept that that's the fact. And that if things are going to get better, it's going to be on me. Everything's always on me,
I love that. Yeah, such a powerful message. We've got some comments flooding in, and it's so amazing. So I'm happy to have you here to be sharing this, and this will hit and impact so many lives. I love what you're doing and who you stand for and what you represent. You've just been a huge inspiration in my life, and I just can't thank you enough. But can I dive right in and read a few things from your book?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so the first thing that came to me, what it says: as soon as you start taking accountability and taking the blame, you will start taking control of your life, which is a lot of what you just said. But that is such a powerful statement. Every word in here just hit home to me. It's such a powerful book. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Yeah. So the biggest part, I think, especially to that, is if you really want to be happy, you have to learn how to take control of your life. And I don't think that very many people have been able to take control of their life. And I would ask this question, and I don't know how many people are listening, and I'll just ask you, but if I point blank ask you this question, I want you to give me an answer. Don't take 10 minutes to answer it, but what do you want in life?
Happiness.
Okay. Anything else?
That's the most important thing to me, is happiness.
That's a good answer. And if I were asked that question, I would probably say something very similar. But the reality is that most people, when they're asked that question point blank, they don't have an answer. And you can't control or take control of your life if you don't even know what you want. And if you don't know what you want, you're never ever going to be able to get anything out of life. And so most people, without knowing what they want and taking control of themselves, they coast through life, and that sucks.
Yeah.
And so anytime I do a podcast or I meet with people, and because I do some coaching and help people, that's the number one question that I ask, and that's something that you should ask often. And now my answer has changed a little bit. So happiness is an emotion, right? You're never ever going to be happy all the time. That's just not going to happen. Just like you're never going to be angry all the time. You're never going to be sad all the time. You're never going to be happy all the time. But my answer has now evolved to, I want to be in the happiness emotion as much as I possibly can. That's what I want in life. I don't want money. I don't want time. I don't want materialistic things. My number one want is I want to be in the happiness emotion as much as I possibly can. And now I can work backwards in taking control of my life and doing what makes me happy. But the problem is like I said, when you ask most people that question, what do you want? They won't give you an answer. They'll have to think about it, or they'll have to stroll through like, I don't know what I want. And if you don't, you're never going to be able to take control.
Right. Yeah, I love that. That is such a powerful statement. Such a powerful statement. One of the things that I'm an avid book reader, so I love books. This is one of my favorites. I'm not just saying that because you're on my show. This book is one that I will read multiple times throughout my life because there's so many powerful nuggets in it for so many levels. So this book is, go out and get it. It'll be posted in the comments below. It's on Amazon. It has so many powerful tools in it. So you're helping so many people. You don't even know, like more than you know.
Essentially that wasn't even the whole case for the book. It wasn't, I mean, it is now, and I want people to use it. And I've sold, I think 10,000 copies or close to, or just over. And so I get messages, randomly from people about how it changed things and how it helped them. And even messages that people say, you know what, I read your book and I did get divorced, and I got divorced because of what I read in your book, which actually makes me happy, because the reality is not every relationship is salvageable, and not every relationship is ever going to be healthy. So it's okay. Like, divorce is okay. Those things are okay. But when I wrote this book, it was nothing but therapy for me. I never meant to sell more than a copy. I never meant to help anybody. I essentially just went to a pen and paper, and I had a really good friend, a ghostwriter, help me, and she was awesome. She kind of helped me put into words the things that I had spoke and told her, and we kind of mapped it all out. And all it really was for me was putting into words what I had done wrong and how I could get better. And so when you read those pages, that's me talking to myself. And I don't think that most people realize that when you listen to really hard or strong podcasts. Most people that are teaching self-help are really just talking to themselves, and they're doing it in a way out loud so that others can hear. But essentially, it's nothing but self-healing to do so. And that's what the book was for me.
Wow. Well, it is so powerful, and it impacted my life, and I know it's going to impact so many others. It's truly incredible. I'm going to read another one of the things that I love that you did in this book is the challenges, how you went through after every chapter and did a challenge. I'm just going to read one of them. It says, wake up every day and look yourself in the mirror. Out loud, say, I accept accountability for the things I've done wrong. I'm ready to take control, and moving forward, I will give no excuses. Wow. Like, wow. I mean, that is such a powerful, after every single chapter, I believe there's 10 chapters in here. After every chapter, he has a challenge, and do the work. I think that's the biggest thing. If you can just touch on that.
Yeah. So I'm really, really, I have a lot of anxiety. I just always have. I've learned to deal with it. I'm in a really good place. I've actually always been in a really good place. I've never struggled with depression, but I've always had anxiety from the day I was probably born until now. And I've
Me too.
realized that the key to anxiety is action. Um, Most people sit in anxiety and it's just the worst, but the only way out of anxiety is action. And so when I wrote the book, I didn't want people to read a book and go back to their anxiety. I wanted them to read a book and then take action. And so when I wrote the chapters, I wanted to correlate them actually doing things. And the truth is some of those things are really hard. One of the challenges is write a letter to your ex, which of course some people are like, there's no way I'm not doing that. And then later
Yeah.
on, I talk about giving it to your ex. But the truth is that for me specifically, the only way out of anxiety, it was action. And so in the book, I didn't want people just to read and throw it out. I wanted them to grow. And the only way for them to grow was through action. And that's what the challenges were set up for.
Yeah, they were so powerful, and I hope everybody that buys the book actually does the challenges, because that's where the magic happens, is when you do the work, right? Like, that's in
Yeah.
reality. Yeah.
And
So
that's
I'm
the
gonna read
hard
in that.
part is
Go ahead.
that the only thing I would say, that's the hard part. And if there's anything I could stress for, if anybody's listening, is don't waste your time reading my book. If you're not going to do anything, it's just going to be a waste of your time and energy. If you're going to do it, do the actual challenges and see what it does for you specifically in your life in any aspect. Because the truth is that if you actually put into action things that are talked about to better you, you'll see really quick that you'll get better. And that's the whole point of it. Is it's like, I'm not going to just sit here and shoot words at you. I'm going to tell you that if you do what I'm telling you, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And that's how the whole book is kind of set up.
I love it. I love it, and it's so true. I think that's the magic. I'm going to read another clip from it. It says, if you are not progressing in your relationship, if you're not improving or moving forward together, you are not in a healthy relationship. If you have tried to move it forward and it still hasn't, it's time for a change. You, your partner, your relationship, and your family should all be moving forward in a progressive state, financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. But this is about you. You need to be moving forward. Again, another powerful, powerful statement. Can you just touch on that one?
Yeah. So, um, the, I think, how do I want to say this? Ask that question again. Ask the question again.
So it was just how you have to be moving forward in a relationship, In the progressive state, you have to be financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, but it's all about you. So you need to be moving forward.
So I always try to filter myself because I don't want to offend people, especially I don't know what kind of crowd listens to this show. Um, but the truth
You just
is,
be you.
okay, that's why I'm trying to word it the best way. The truth is that the reason for divorce is because one or both partners stopped progressing in their life. That's 100% why there is divorce. You start off in this beautiful, wonderful relationship where you're both progressing, and you get married and you progress and you progress. And then most people, and this is what's sad, most people stop. They stop progressing. They're married, they give up on their looks, they give up on their goals, they give up on their life. And then all of a sudden they wonder why in 10 or 15 years the marriage is gone and the happiness is gone. And it's because they gave up. One of the most crazy, biggest bullshit that I've ever seen in my life. I am so tired of watching divorced couples get into shape after they have a divorce. It makes me sick to my stomach that you didn't love yourself and your spouse enough to take care of yourself while you were in your marriage, that as soon as you got divorced, you realized, shit, I got to get back into shape because I'm back on the dating market. That kind of stuff should never, ever, ever stop. And the problem in today's society is people do that. They get married, and 5 years into their marriage, they stop working out, they stop eating healthy, they stop with their goals, they stop worrying about all these things in life. And heaven forbid, even stay-at-home moms, they focus their whole lives around their children, which I think is a wonderful thing, but focusing your whole life around one topic is not healthy. And so then what happens is one of them or both of them stop progressing, and that's when the marriage is in disarray. That's when it's a problem. And heaven forbid, and this is what I see most of the time, people begin to have affairs in marriages because one of them at some point in this dysfunctional marriage decide, I'm going to get my shit back together, and I'm going to start working out, and I'm going to eat healthy, and I'm going to have goals. So then what we see on a pretty big scale is either the wife or the husband go to the gym and get in shape and start progressing. And you know what happens? The spouse doesn't. And then there's this jealousy and there's this anger and there's this separation because one of them has begun to progress again and the other one didn't. And then what happens? Usually an affair happens, and then they end up getting divorced. And the truth is that that's the most selfish possible thing you could do. Anytime I see someone leave a marriage and go back to working to look good, feel good, act good, I think, you selfish son of a bitch. You should have been doing that in your marriage. You should have been sexy. You should have been in shape. You should have been healthy. You should have had goals, because if you don't, why would someone be attracted to you?
Yeah.
And that's the problem. And like I said, it's a hard topic for people to swallow, but man, I'll tell you, and this is going to probably rub a lot of people the wrong way. If you're fat and out of shape in your marriage, you are the problem. I'm telling you that right now. You are the problem. Your spouse is owed more than that. To be physically, sexually, mentally, emotionally attracted to you, you need to keep up on your appearance. You need to work hard. You need to have goals. You need to have financial, emotional, mental, spiritual goals. Because if you don't, then who wants to be with you? I wouldn't want to be with someone like that.
Right.
And the problem is that so many people give up on life as soon as they get into a marriage, that we wonder why divorce rates are so high. They're higher than 50%.
Right.
And the reason is because so many people become so mediocre so fast.
Right.
And it's sad. And I'll tell you this, you want to find a successful marriage, you will not find two slobs that have not taken care of themselves. I'm telling you that right now. You won't.
True.
The most
Yes.
successful marriages are the couples that fought together, grew together, progressed together, and kept going. One of the things that I've had to learn, especially over the last 2 years, my wife is beautiful. She is absolutely gorgeous, way out of my league. And sometimes it's hard for me, when I see her, she gets dressed up to go to the gym, and I think, man, I'm sure there's a lot of guys that are looking at her, or, oh man, I don't cover up, But then I stop myself and I think, no, I want her to feel sexy. I want her to go and try to look better and be better and feel sexy, even if it's not just with me. Now, I don't want her to get hit on. I'm not saying that. but essentially I want her to continue to progress in her physical appearance, because then her mental appearance gets better, all of those things. And so that's the other piece to it, is it's not just working on yourself, but it's also blowing up and growing up and supporting your spouse in their goals and in all the things that they're doing. And one thing we do that's a very toxic trait is we try to take people and grab them and hold them. They're ours. They can't do anything else. That selfishly hold in, like, oh, you're really sexy, well, put clothes on, I don't want anybody to see you. Or, oh, you're really smart, well, you can't, I don't want you to go out and get a really good job, I want you to stay here, because they're worried about losing them. And in reality, the best possible thing you could do is treat them like what's the word, a caterpillar turning into a butterfly, and help them actually blossom into something so much greater. Because the truth is you will never love anyone more than someone who stood by your side and helped you blossom into a butterfly, than someone who drug you down and kept everything away from you so that you wouldn't grow and progress. And that's what, sadly enough, that's what we see.
Yeah, I love that. We just had a comment. I was just able to find the comments. It says she tells her husband to hold me like water.
I like that.
Yeah, so you're hitting home to a lot of people. There's so many people out there right now that need to hear this. This is such a powerful message. I think I would like to know the numbers on the divorce rate through this pandemic, or whatever's been going on.
I'm sure they're through the roof. Because they've forced people to be in their homes and with their spouses, and it's forced people to face problems that they otherwise have run from, And I understand that. I know what it's like sometimes to run from something because you just don't have enough energy to deal with it. But the truth is if you can face, your problems, and the pandemic made a lot of people face their problems, and then look at yourself openly and unbiasedly, you can really make a lot of changes and progress. And I would bet even with a lot of divorce during the pandemic, there was also probably a lot of strength in relationships too.
Yes, I agree. Because more people have had to look inside and find themselves and dig deep and figure out who they are. So what perfect timing for this book to come out in the middle of a pandemic. Well, I think so many people need this right now. I'm going to read another passage. It says, growth does not happen when you're comfortable. I'm not here to make it comfortable. I'm here to challenge you, to rid you of the things in your life that don't serve a purpose, and excuses will never serve a purpose. If you'll just hit on that.
So I've learned in my life that comfort creates mediocrity, and comfort keeps us in a zone that doesn't allow us out, or we don't allow ourselves out. And as soon as we get ourselves into an uncomfortable place, we see what we're really made of. It is a really beautiful thing to see someone be put in an uncomfortable situation and soar. And most people are too afraid to put themselves in a situation that is uncomfortable. And the truth is, now in my life specifically, I find every uncomfortable situation that I can possibly find, and I thrust myself into it, because the only progress now that I see in my life is when I am very uncomfortable. If I'm comfortable, I am not progressing, and I don't like it. One of the things that I do on a daily basis now is I do ice baths. An ice bath is no joke. It's you get in, you get all the way up to your neck in ice water, and you sit there until your body stops hyperventilating. So usually it takes about 30 seconds to 45 seconds, and then I'll sit in it and I'll meditate in it. And I hate it. I hate it every single time. I don't ever love it. I don't ever want to do it. But the truth is that I force myself every single day to do something that makes me feel uncomfortable. And then the rest of my day becomes easy because I already did the shit that was uncomfortable. And that's kind of the way that life is if you're comfortable, you're most likely not progressing. If you're rolling into the gym and you're just doing a few sets and you're not sweating and you're not tired and you're not hungry, you're probably not progressing. And
I love that.
It's that way in everything in life. Even now, like, how comfortable is it for you to jump on this Zoom call and do this? It probably wasn't very comfortable. But
no, it's not at all.
But over time of you doing this, you're going to get better and greater, and your confidence will rise. And then your confidence will rise in your communications with your friends and your family, because it's so much harder now to do it. And then all of a sudden those things get, they get easier. And so the whole book is all about learning to become uncomfortable. And then and learning to love it. If you can love being uncomfortable, you will grow and progress more than you possibly thought you could. And that's kind of now what I do. If I become too comfortable, I will stop what I'm doing. I just will. I don't ever want to be in a place where I'm comfortable and mediocre anymore. I want to grow. I want to progress. And every single time I get there, I fight with myself because it's not that I don't want to be comfortable. I just don't want the secondary piece of comfort to be in my life, and that's mediocre, and that's just mediocrity.
Yeah, I love that. Man, that one hit home hard for me because this is so uncomfortable for me. So I'm just going to put it out there that one day I'm going to love these. I'm going to show up here just loving what I'm doing because it definitely is uncomfortable. My cousin said, she says, no ice baths for me, maybe ice fishing.
Yeah. And you know what? That's the thing. I hear that all the time. Like that's, and you know, and I'm not calling her out by any means or whoever your cousin is. But that answer that I get from people on ice baths is the same excuse they give themselves why they're not progressing in so many things. Because it's like, oh no, that sounds miserable. You're right, it is miserable. But it
Yeah.
helps me so much with my anxiety and my stress, and my recovery and all of these things that I progress so much more when I'm doing my ice baths that I could never get without that. Last 2 weeks ago, I was up at Bear Lake, and Bear Lake's like 15 degrees, and the water was just above freezing. It was 32, and I do my ice baths every day, so it wasn't a big deal. But the people that were there, I said, hey, come, let's walk out to Bear Lake and let's get in an ice bath. And of course, my wife hates it. She doesn't, no girl wants to be in an ice bath.
No, we don't.
Um, but she heard me say something to her like, well, yeah, but you need to get uncomfortable. And she knows what that means when I talk about it because I talk about it all the time. And she's like, okay, I'm in, I'll go do it. And so we walked out. It was like 12 o'clock at night. It was literally about 12 to 15 degrees. We walked out 200 yards into Bear Lake, so it was deep enough, and we did an ice bath. And she came
Wow.
back and she slept better and she felt better and she conquered her fear of being out in the cold, and she just did something that she really, really didn't want to do. And she saw all the progression from it that she wanted to see. And I see that on a daily basis with people, not just specifically for ice baths, but anything. Is they will always take the easier route. They will always take what's comfortable. And the truth is, and I'm telling you this now, if you want to be successful in life and you want to be really happy, you have to get uncomfortable as much as you possibly can.
I love that. I was going to ask too if those ice baths help with anxiety. I've struggled with anxiety most of my
Yes,
life. Do they?
that's why I started them. That's the whole reason.
Wow.
So what happens is, and this sounds a little extreme, but when you get in an ice bath, your body goes into fight or flight mode. Your body thinks it's dying, and the fight or flight mode is essentially your highest peak of anxiety. So there's no higher peak of anxiety than fight or flight. So you get in, and then what you do is, instead of listening to your mind, and your mind says, get the hell out, you teach yourself that I know you're feeling anxiety. I know you're at the peak of fear, but I'm going to sit here and I'm going to work through this until I don't feel it anymore. And that's what the ice bath does. And then essentially, once you work through the fight or flight, which takes about 30 to 45 seconds, then your body dumps a ton of hormones, really good hormones that repair and make you feel better. And that's 99% of the time, anxiety comes from hormone imbalance and gut imbalances. And those things are usually fixed when you do ice baths. I can't live without ice baths now. Even if I wanted to,
Wow.
I can't because my anxiety is too high.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah, I definitely need to try an ice bath then because anything to help with anxiety, right? We've got a few comments on the side asking about anxiety. So I want to read one more of the challenges. This is probably the hardest one, I think, for most people. I know it was hard for me to do this one. I'm still working on it because I haven't got it completed, but it says, without excuses, list why you caused your divorce. Handwrite a letter to your ex-spouse, apologizing for the things you did that caused your divorce. The best way to heal is to take 100% of accountability without excuses or ulterior motives. That is the strongest challenge, I think, in the book. Will you just touch on that?
Yeah. So, taking extreme ownership. In fact, there's a book called Extreme Ownership. Taking extreme ownership of what you did wrong is so liberating once you actually do it. Most people lie to themselves and they lie to other people about the reality of what's happening. And until you can sit back and say, I'm the problem and my decisions made this and my choices made this, then you can go to work and say, okay, I did this and I can fix this. Because if I give excuses as to why it's happening, I will never be able to fix it. Because even in my own mind, I don't believe that I'll be able to fix it. But the truth is, if I take extreme ownership of every choice that I make, it means that I can then make choices to change and grow and progress. It does no good to give excuses in any situation as to why something failed. It doesn't do any good. I would love to say, you know, I'm huge and I'm fat and I'm out of shape because of my thyroid. Okay, great. That now gives you the excuse to live the rest of your life with that excuse. Or
Right.
you say, you know what? I have some thyroid issues, and I have thyroid issues because I've eaten like shit for the last 10 years and I've destroyed my body. So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to eat better. And then I'm going to go to the gym, and then I'm going to get my hormones tested, and I'm going to do all of these things that get me back to feeling better. Right. And then
Yes.
you can take full ownership and say, I got myself here and I'm getting myself out. Now, the problem with most people is they won't do that, and they will feed you full of excuse after excuse after excuse. You failed because of you, and you failed because of your choices. You are
Yes.
only going to succeed because of you and because of your choices. And the second that your life can change from, I did this, this is my fault, and I will change this, from this is everybody else's problem. This is everybody else's fault. Everything lies on them. I'm the victim. As soon as you change that, every single aspect of your life will change. Everything.
Yes.
And it's a daily battle too. And I'll tell people this all the time. Once it switches, it doesn't mean you just get it. Because then you have to go through these normal situations, you know, when you fight with your spouse or with your significant other, and instead of doing what you normally do, you fight with them, you blame them, and then you sit back and say they're the problem, they need to fix this. Then you have to stop and go, okay, what am I working on? I'm working on extreme ownership. I'm working on the fact that I'm the problem, that I did this, that I made these choices, and I need to change them. So what do I do? And then at that point, you move forward into this, like, okay, I did this, I'm going to fix this. And if you can get two people to do that in a relationship, you will have the most beautiful relationship you could possibly imagine. And that's something that my wife and I are really working on. We're not there yet. She's really good at it. She's really good at listening to my criticism. And then instead of arguing and fighting and telling me excuses why, she just goes, you know what? I can work on that. I can do that. Even
I
if she
love it.
doesn't believe it, she can still stop and say, okay, I've listened to it. I'll chew it up and I'll figure out what the best thing is. And I tell people this all the time. If you want to be successful in an easy manner, take every ounce of criticism and chew it up and figure out in your digestion if it makes sense. Never, ever, ever shoot back in defense in any criticism. So if someone comes to you and says, I think you're a jackass. Your first response, I'm not a jackass. I don't do those things. When in reality, you should say, I wonder if I am. I'm going to internalize that. I'm going to come to my own decision if I really am. But I am going to listen to what you said. I'm going to take some time. I'm going to pinpoint what it is that makes me those things, and then I'm going to fix it. And I tell people, if you really want to start down the right path, swallow every criticism that you can possibly get and do it without being defensive, and then figure out if it's true. Some of it's not true. You know, sometimes people say things and it's like, you know what, that's not true. But I did take the time to listen to it and swallow it, and I digested it, and I don't agree with it. And that's okay. But you should never, ever, ever be defensive over it. And that's one thing in any relationship. If you can take the criticisms from your spouse and digest them, you can find so much healthiness in your relationship.
Yes, I love that. We've got so many comments flowing in. I can't read them quick enough, but my best friend Natalie Smith wrote, I love this 100%. Dropping the ego liberates only emotional victims. So many powerful comments. You're hitting so many nerves with this. So you're doing amazing. I appreciate all your just wisdom that you've got. I'm going to read another
Absolutely.
part of your book. It says, "You are not a failure because you have chosen to allow this divorce to help you grow. It will not define you. The only failure would be to not try again." Will you just touch on that?
Yeah, so I don't believe in failure anymore in life. I don't. I don't think that I can fail. I think I can give up, and in giving up, that would be a failure. But that even giving up isn't eternal. So it's
Love
still
it.
not a failure. But I think as long as you move forward, even if it's an inch a year, if you move forward, you can never ever fail. You can't. The truth is that you may fail 100 times out of 101 times, but at that 101 time you became successful, and the rest of those were not failures. They were just kind of deterrents to getting to the success. And so in anything, it's about not giving up and not letting go and moving towards something better. And the truth is that if you want to be in a healthy relationship, it's going to take time. Some people have to live in a relationship where there was an affair, or a spouse was cheating, and I would never give advice in any relationship as to what they should do. But what I do say is, if something is important to you, then you should work at it until it gets to where you want it to be. And for some people, that means a divorce. But for a lot of people, that means a healthy relationship. And most people give up before they get to that healthy relationship. And then they wonder why they got divorced in the first place. And so I tell people all the time, you really can't fail. You can give up, but there really isn't any failure if you continue and continue and continue to progress, even if it's just the smallest progression. When I was in high school, I used to have a football coach that would have a saying. He said, "Every day, in every way, we get a little better." He used to make us say that every single day, actually, at football practice, and that has stuck with me. Every day, in every way, we get a little bit better, and even if that's just the smallest bit, you still get better. And even if it takes you 10 years, what it takes me to do in 6 months, you still didn't fail. You moved forward and progressed to where you want to be.
Yes, I love this. So powerful. You're hitting so many comments. It's all coming in really good. This is one of my favorite. It's kind of long on this part, but this is one of my favorite parts of the book because it's about the kids through a divorce. This one hits a topic that needs to needs to bring light on it because it's pretty incredible. It says, "So many kids grow up thinking that they are going to be just like their parents. If you're telling them what a piece of shit their mom or dad is, what do you think they're going to start thinking of themselves? Add value to their lives. Don't take value away. Talking negatively about someone they will spend time and grow up with will only make them resentful of either you or your ex. It is not fair to put your thoughts and opinions of someone else onto someone so impressionable. Just don't do it." And then it goes on and says, "I guarantee you will go to bed that night with a clean conscience, knowing you did not let your emotions dictate your life anymore. If you want to grow, and that's all this book is about, you need to look inward. No longer will the answers to your problems be found with someone else. You are the answer to every problem you have, the solution to every equation." That is such a powerful topic, and one that I think anybody that is going through a breakup, a divorce, whatever, who have children, if you'll just touch on that.
So this is something that's really, really important to me. I think I made every mistake in the book, and that's one of the reasons why I wrote that book. But one thing I didn't do is I never, ever, ever spoke ill of my children's mom. I had two daughters with my ex-wife, and it was so crucial to me that my daughters heard the way that I spoke about their mother to them in nothing but uplifting and respectful manner. There was never, ever, ever a time in my relationship through the divorce that I ever spoke ill of my ex-wife to my children or around my children. Now, there was many times that I complained, that I was frustrated, that I was upset, but I never, ever spoke ill. And the truth was, is I knew I knew that what was most important to me was that the type of women that my daughters were was reflected in what I taught them as their father. Um, and the truth is that my children, although they'll grow and they'll have divorced parents, my daughters will never ever see their father disrespect their mother, their stepmom, or them. And to me, those things were so crucial that through all of the divorce and all the frustrations, if there was one thing that I held on to, it was the importance of teaching my daughters how important it was, no matter if I agree with your mother, if I'm mad at your mother, if we didn't work out, that I always respected her, always. And so for me, that chapter, as you can see, it was something that was very emotional for me. But it's something that I never, ever messed up, because it was really crucial that the type of women that my daughters are and are becoming is a sheer reflection of the man that I was, and how I treated their mother, no matter the divorce, no matter the fact that we didn't get along. And so when I wrote that chapter, I watched so many children get destroyed in divorces, and it broke my heart, because the truth is through divorce, you never really understand how hard it is for the children. And then on top of that, if you're destroying that person to them, how much harder it is for them, and them understanding like that's 50% of me. And so if they're a piece of shit and they're a liar and they're stupid and they're, all of these things that you say in divorce, then why am I not that? And if you hated my mother, then what is it about me that you don't hate, And the truth, too, is my daughters know that they're very much like my ex-wife, and how detrimental to them if I had expressed to them that I hated something about them, So that chapter, to me, as you can tell, it definitely held dear to me. And if there's anything that I could personally do to help in a divorce situation, it's tell these stupid parents, stop speaking ill to your children. And you know what? If you're not good enough to do that, then just don't do it around your children. If you want to speak all manner of hatred to them, to anyone else, then do it. But don't do it in front of your children. They deserve so much better than that garbage. And the truth is if you, and this is something that people need to hold dear, if you're the person that's talking shit, you're probably the reason for the divorce. That's hard. And I understand that that's hard to accept. But if you're walking away from a situation and you are still being toxic to your children, you were the problem. And that's, realistically, that's what the whole book's about.
Yeah, 100%. Man, you hit a nerve on that one. I wasn't expecting to bring the tissues today. I'll know that next time. Yeah, that was so powerful. But I can't. Yeah, that's one thing that I have done as a parent that I'm proud of, is that I would never say a bad word in my life about Boston's dad, because he's her dad. That's never going to change. So in her eyes, I love him with all my heart, and I will forever hold that. I think
it's crucial, because that, whether you want it or not, that he is shaping the type of man that one day she'll date and one day she'll be with, and
exactly.
And that's not to say that, that she's going to be with, if there are those spouses out there that are worried about the type of spouse that they were once with. It's not to say that that's going to happen, but it doesn't help when all you're doing is speaking ill to your children about somebody, especially of the opposite sex, that's probably developing who they're going to be with,
Exactly.
And so I definitely think it's okay to have real conversations. When I first came out with the book, I had a lady message me, and she was so angry because in the book I talked about if someone had an affair on you, it's your fault. And most people that hear that just think, oh, that's so unacceptable to say. But the truth is that that really is the truth. If someone had an affair on you, it was your fault. And there's not really anything that you can say or do to change that. You can just make decisions moving forward to go whichever way you want to go. But in any situation, especially when it pertains to the children, if you're not doing what you need to do and you're spewing toxicness into them about who their parent is, you are doing so much disservice to yourself. And if nothing else, I hope that the book helps people to get rid of that.
Yes, that is such a powerful tool and such a powerful chapter in your book. I'm going to read. I want to be respectful of your time. Are you okay for a little bit?
Yeah, I have a meeting at like 1:10, so as long as we're done.
Okay, I'll hurry. I want to read. I'll try to wrap it up. There's just so many things I want to go over. So this one says, take advantage of having someone else that loves them and put the effort forward to be friends. If you can, or at the very least, coexist in a positive light. And then it goes on to say, I know you couldn't make your relationship work when you were married, but you can make a co-parenting relationship work. It's a balance and it takes effort. But if you can give your children two parents who go above and beyond to create a positive co-parenting relationship for their benefit, that'll be the most important thing you do in this divorce.
Absolutely. You at this point, if people are at the point of divorce, at this point, you've done a lot of things that's hurt your children, and you have to accept that. And it's okay. It's okay. I think a lot of people struggle with the idea of getting hurt or hurting their children. And if it's what's best for you, it's okay, But wait, what was the question?
I think it was just how to do the positive co-parenting through relationships.
So and this is kind of where I was headed, and I just kind of forgot where I was headed. But the truth is that you've done so much damage, and now it's only crucial that you do what's best moving forward. And for some people, what's best is to have zero communication. Sometimes relationships are so toxic that the best thing you can do for your children is just not have any type of communication. That sucks, but that is some of the situations. But if you can have a healthy co-parenting situation, you should, and you should do whatever you possibly can. One of the most special moments for me was going this summer to my children's soccer games with my new wife and my ex-wife, and we sat together and we enjoyed each other's company because we have three adults that are putting aside any differences that they have, and my ex-wife and my new wife sometimes have issues, but putting aside any issues and things like that and just coming together for the children is absolutely the most crucial thing you could do. And the truth, you owe that to your children. You need to suck up all of the pain and frustration and the shit talking and the toxicness, and you need to say, I owe this to my children to have a healthy relationship with their parent. And we need to do things together, because the truth, like I said, is there's nothing more beautiful than coming together as two co-parents who can get along. You don't have to be best friends. You don't have to do anything, but getting along in an environment that allows your children to feel loved and cared for is absolutely the most beautiful thing. And it's what your children deserve.
Yes. Amen. It's so true and so powerful. Another statement that you said is, everybody at some point in their life feels their happiness comes from the outside. The truth is that our happiness comes from our choices, not our outside circumstances or relationships. That's so powerful. It really is all about the choices.
It really is. I think now that I'm on the other side of financial gain, it's really true that money doesn't buy happiness. Now, I will be the first to say that I buy a lot of things. I made a few $1 million, and I love toys and all of those things. And I have a beautiful home and all that stuff. But the truth is that it really is about pleasure more than it is about happiness. And happiness comes from a choice that you make. Some of the happiest people I know have nothing. And they're more happy than a lot of the people I spend time with in my circle, who have millions and millions and millions of dollars, that complain all day long and that are never happy. And so the truth is that happiness it really is a choice. Now, it's an emotion, and it's a choice to be in that emotion, but you should be there as often as you possibly can. And it really doesn't have to do with anything on the outside. And the second that you actually internalize that, I think people say that, but they don't internalize it. Happiness comes from you choosing. It makes me look stupid, but this is a funny story. So I've been building my house up on the mountain, and I rolled in one day, and I was just pissed about things that were getting done, drywall that wasn't being done right, and paint, and just everything. I rolled in and I was ornery and I was angry. And I roll in, and my tile guys are in my master bedroom, which is my third floor. It's just my whole master, and they're there playing music and eating tacos and laughing and like just having the greatest day ever. And I stopped and I thought, huh, I'm building a multi-million-dollar house. I have everything that I could possibly want, and I'm the one rolling in today ornery and angry. And I'm rolling into 4 Hispanic dudes. None of them speak English. They were so awesome, and they did great work. And they were happy every single day. They rolled in. They made tacos at lunch. They made me tacos one day, and they were happy. And I thought, what the hell is my problem? These guys have nothing. Or, from what it assumed, they didn't have very much. And they were up there busting their ass every day. And I'm the one rolling into the house that owns the house, bitching and complaining. And
I love that.
holy shit, this is such a choice. It's such a choice. And they were just happy to be working and eating and having fun and hanging out with their music on. And that's when I realized, like, holy moly, man, you need to do better. You need to be better. The outside things and the money and all the stuff, like, that doesn't bring happiness. You got to wake up every day and choose to be happy, and then
Yes.
you internalize that.
Yeah, that is such a great, powerful perspective for sure. I remember the first time I saw that, I was in Tahiti, and the people there, they don't even have electricity, most of them. They don't have windows or doors or hardly any clothes. And I'm like, these are the happiest people I've ever seen in my life. They have nothing.
Yeah.
They are so happy. So that's pretty. And then one more thing, it says, I do think everybody who gets a divorce should take some time to be alone. No dating. Don't do anything with anybody for a time so you can figure out who you are and who you want to be. It goes on to say, we owe it to ourselves to find out who we are again before we offer ourselves to another person. That is such a powerful tool. Like, if you'll just speak on that, by being alone, and how you were happy alone before you moved on.
So one thing I found, and it's addicting, is solitude. And the more you can learn to be happy and alone, and the more you can learn in yourself to bring to yourself the things that you want in life, and that they're not brought to you from somebody else, the better off you'll be for a relationship. So most relationships that fail and that are really toxic are 2 people that are relying on each other for happiness, that are relying on each other for pleasure, and relying on each other for all of these things. And the most healthy and best relationships are 2 distinct individuals that are very independent in their own happiness, that bring their happiness both to the table and find more happiness together. One thing that I learned and that I became addicted to was learning to love being alone, and learning to spend time with myself and love myself. And the truth is that it becomes almost a place of, like, so much comfort that you never want to leave it. My brother, who I love, he recently got divorced about 2 years ago, and he's just spent so much time alone now that he's like, I don't think I ever even want to date anymore. I'm so happy, and I'm so enjoying my solitude, that and I said, things come and go, and times change in your life, and maybe you are happy there forever. And I don't know, I can't speak to that. But what I can say is the most toxic and dirty relationships are the ones that happen usually right after a breakup. That people jump from one really bad toxic relationship into a new one, and they take all the garbage with them. And the truth, even though it's really cliche, is if you have a cut from one relationship and you jump into the next, you're just bleeding on that person with that cut, and you need to take time to heal. One thing that I will say is I don't think there's any problem with randomly dating. I don't. And I think as long as you state the fact up front, hey, I'm not ready for a relationship, but I'd love to spend some time with you. This isn't going to go anywhere. And if that's not okay, that's totally fine. But I'm not ready to get into a new relationship. I don't think there's any problem with that. But what I do think is when people get out of a relationship, they try to jump back into another relationship like it wasn't their fault. And that's another excuse from people is like, well, that relationship that failed was on them. I'm ready for a better relationship. I'm ready to do this. And that's the book saying, you're not. It was your fault. And you need to take ownership of it. So take time in your solitude and learn to grow and heal. One of the things in my book that I talked about, my mom told me it was about being alone. Learn to be alone and learn to sit in your pain. And man, that one hit me really hard when she told me that, because in my anxiety-filled mind, when I felt pain, I wanted to go and move and progress. And what was really crucial was me sitting in my pain and learning from it, because in pain and discomfort, you learn. And so it was really, really important that as soon as I was done in my marriage, that I took time in solitude to grow and learn and get better and get healthy, so that when I had a new relationship, I was in a great place.
Yeah, that was such a powerful. I actually wrote that on my mirror because I thought that was such a powerful thing that your mom said to you. This is the last part of the book that I'm going to read. It says, "Get ready to go to war with yourself. There are no excuses, no shortcuts through recovery. You must find your weakness and grow to become a better person. You are not a failure because your relationships didn't work out, but your actions now will determine the success of your future endeavors. Win that war with yourself, and you will be able to walk through trials you couldn't even crawl through before." That hit home. I mean, that was such a powerful statement. This book was beautifully written. She did an awesome job on that. You did such an incredible job by getting it out there. Is there anything else that you wanted to touch on before I ask you just a couple questions to wrap it up?
No, the only thing I would say, just to wrap up what you're saying there, is if you can go into your life and treat your progression like a war and actually battle yourself, and go in full well knowing that it's going to be a battle, and stop expecting it to be easy and comfortable, and actually go to war with yourself with that expectation, you'll be successful. Because when it gets hard, you don't, in the middle of a war, you don't, when it gets hard, you don't give up, because you know it's a war and you know that the outcome was going to be hard in the first place. And if you can go into fixing yourself, and treat it like a war with yourself, I think you can hang on through the really, really hard and dark and deep moments that you need to learn and grow to get to where you need to be.
Yes, that is so powerful. In fact, hashtag going to war with yourself. That is such a, I've been tagging you in that one. And then there's just two questions that I want to wrap up this episode with. So what is the number one thing that you want to instill in your girls?
The number one thing I want to instill in them is that they have the ability to do anything that they want in life, and that there really is no such thing as a limit. We grow up and we look at our parents, and we almost I think sometimes look at them and say, my parents are killing it, like that's kind of my limit, you know? And so when I live my life, I kind of live my life with no limit, and I want my children to do the same. I have zero expectations for them, and I have zero idea of what I want them to become. All I care about is that they are happy, and that they realize at some point that they literally can do anything that they want to do in this life. And it doesn't matter what it is. Most people will never really cultivate or harvest in someone the thought that you can do whatever you want to do, because most of the world will try to tell you that you can't, because they were too lazy to do it. And I want my children to learn from me, if nothing else. If I die tomorrow, that they know we can do any single thing that we put our mind to. And that's really all that
Absolutely.
matters. The rest of it all I can deal with.
Yeah, and you live and breathe that. Your girls have you're such a mentor for those little girls. They have you're pretty amazing. I love who you are and what you stand for, Keaton. You're an incredible man. And then the last
Thank you.
question is, if you could make one rule that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
One rule that everybody had to follow. I think I would make the rule that you had to take responsibility for every single thing you did in your life.
I love that.
Without excuse. And if the world could do that and own up to what they did and take real responsibility, whether it was good or bad, I think that the world would be a better place. And that's as simple as I threw garbage out on the freeway, like, okay, well, you're
Right.
responsible and you have to take responsibility for the fact that you did that. And I think more people would find happiness if they took real responsibility.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Well, thank you, Keaton, for your time, for your vulnerability. This was absolutely amazing. You're such a great guy. Just thank you. Thank you so much for
Thank you.
everything. Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad we did it.
Yeah, you're amazing. You're magic. You guys go out and make magic happen today. Just remember to believe in yourself, who you are, and what you stand for, and go make the magic happen. They're
Awesome.
asking for giveaways. Do you have any giveaways?
Do
you have a couple books you want to donate to my tribe?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do that. I'd be happy to give away, I don't know, 10 books. Just let
Awesome.
me
Yeah,
know and
that would be
I can get them
amazing.
to you. I'd love, I really, I
Awesome.
mean, I think the book's like $20 or something. Like I said, I never planned on making any money from it. It really was, I wanted to get it in people's hands. My mom's a therapist. And I gave her like 100 books to give to people as she felt they needed it, and she's given them out. So
That's amazing. Yeah, it's had a huge impact on my life and many others. So I'm excited to get it into the hands. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate you.
yeah,
I hope you have a
absolutely.
great day.
You too. We'll see ya.
Okay. Thanks, Keaton. See ya.